There's an issue with using a closed grip that I have to bring to the fore. And the fact of the matter is, the closed grip is going to be the safest style that you can use in most scenarios. You know, if you do an overhead press or a bench press or whatever with your thumb wrapped around the bar, you've got a full grip on the bar. That bar is not, you're not going to get injured in any sort of way, given all things are equal. Now, with that said, I find that there's a little bit of an issue when it comes to pressing heavier loads while using that closed grip. And that issue is, let's say you're doing an overhead press. At the top of the lift, at the bottom of the lift, you see that your wrist is broken like this, and at the top of the lift, you can see that what you have to do is correct your wrist position so that the bar is still loaded over the forearm. Okay? If it's not loaded over the forearm and your wrist stays broken, this is an easy habit to fall into right here. Right? So that little turn has to happen at the end of each rep. Now, in order for that to happen, you have to be pretty conscious of your movement, and the weight has to be something you can control in that department. And a lot of people, they give up on that component of the lift. So the bar ends up staying over empty space when it's positioned in that spot in the hand with a broken wrist. And so then it's not being supported anymore because it's not over the right space. Right? So with that said, I use a false grip primarily for the reason of having that linear relationship where that bar is located right over my forearm from the get-go, from the very beginning. So I put the bar in my hand towards the base. So right now it's sitting right on top of my forearm, and I'll close my entire hand around that. So that's what it looks like, and that's the false grip that I use. There might be different variations where it's sitting back in the palm further, but I'll put it right there in the position that it should be. So it's right over my forearm. And then I make my drive, and I don't have to worry too much about anything else because the placement is in the right spot to begin with. The same rules apply when I do a bench press or any sort of pressing exercise. That's my false grip positioning, and I find that it's a lot more stable of a position for me to have a proper drive and deal with heavier loads. It's not something that I recommend for beginners or for people who haven't spent a lot of time lifting. I've spent a lot of time lifting, so I'm comfortable with my grip variations and variety in different movements, and so for an advanced lifter or somebody who's very intermediate, they can start tampering with a false grip. But 9 out of 10 times I'll always promote having a closed grip, and that's what my clients use, and that's what any beginner will use as well. So I don't promote a false grip to anybody who's not in the right position or has the right prerequisites to use it. So with that said, another reason with a false grip that I like is the fact that if you squeeze through your pinky finger and you have that false grip, it's a lot easier for you to squeeze through your last finger, your final digits. So with a closed grip like this, you can make that squeeze, but I find that you can, when you take that thumb out, you do the same thing, you squeeze through the pinky finger more, it results in you getting a little bit more tricep activation out of your lift. And that's another small component. We're talking about splitting hairs here, but that's another small component about using a false grip that you can actually benefit from if you want to talk about more advanced training directives. So a false grip equals a little bit better placement over the forearm if you tend to neglect having a broken wrist versus a straight wrist, and more tricep activation, and that's why I use the false grip. So that's it.